Hello everyone, welcome to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston Subdivision, an N-scale inspired HO layout. My name is Daryl Kruse, owner and builder of the layout, and your host for episode 13 of season 2021. And as you can see, we do have trains running on the main line. I finally made the transition from working on the staging yard to actually extending the tracks and running trains out onto the main line. Here you see the locomotives going through the first control point, and we'll have a big description about that in a little bit. And also we'll be sharing some information on how the staging yard turnouts all work and are controlled. We'll also be looking at how the Tortoise switch machines are installed. But before we get to that, again, a short commercial for my website where you can purchase N-scale equipment still. I did post a bunch of rolling stock, flat cars and box cars mostly. They're about $15 a piece. Flat cars with the loads are a little bit more. But a bunch of different things that you can purchase if you're in S-scale and looking for some equipment. I also have posted some more TrainWorks vehicles, which are very nice, and I have some rare ones, also the UPS and cattle carriers and FedEx and so on. So if you get a chance looking for some inexpensive N-scale stuff, check out the site. All right, now what's wrong with this picture? If you look at it closely, the middle empty track there is too far to the left. And it's too close to the track to the left, far away from the track to the right, and so we had some cars touching each other between those two tracks. So I had to do some work in order to even it out a little bit. And here you see the after, and it's much more even, problem solved. Cars, even the auto racks, can transverse all three of those tracks and not hit each other. Did have some additional things that I have had on order and that came in. I was very excited about this product. This is something I've been waiting for a long time. Couldn't wait till I got the package, and I finally was able to open it up. And it is a resistor kit. Yes, actually, it's not that exciting. Pretty boring. But it is something that I needed for doing the powering of the turnouts and have lots of uses. Now here's something I definitely was excited about. Some ScaleTrains covered hoppers. I still need quite a few covered hoppers. There's more covered hoppers than any other type of car on railroads. And so I have a bunch of them, but not nearly as much as I needed. And I wanted to get these ScaleTrains ones, but they actually came out before I got started in all this, and so they really weren't available. But I've been searching on the internet, and I found some of these at a online dealer that I had never purchased from before. The detail, as you can see, is awesome, especially the detail around the hatches at the bottom there. Really cool. ScaleTrains does such a great job. You can see the roller bearings moving around. You can also see some of the great detail there. These are beautiful cars. But anyway, I got this at the dealership that I had never purchased from before. I won't go into detail. I had some problems with the order. These came out great, but some of the other things I ordered, not so good. Won't get into all the details. But anyway, also wanted to compare these to a car that's about half the price, less than half the price, a Walthers car. Now, this is not to be a dig on Walthers at all. I like their cars, especially for the price that they are. But I just wanted to show you the difference in detail between the two and my thoughts on, how it's going to look on my layout, having some really highly detailed cars running next to sparsely detailed cars. And my thought is that the highly detailed cars will kind of give you the impression that they're all detailed. It's kind of like the same thing with little scenes on your layout. You can have some different areas that are highly detailed, and it kind of gives you the impression that everything's detailed that much. I'm hoping that that's going to carry over to the rolling stock. So here we have the highly detailed ScaleTrains next to the more inexpensive Walthers trains, and you can, you know, tell a difference. But I think if everything's weathered, you won't really, it won't, you know, stand out a lot that, hey, these are not detailed very much. But then you will be able to be able to appreciate, you know, the high detail of some of the more expensive cars. So it's my way of getting some detailed cars without getting all of them at $45 or more a pop. All right, so here we have the throat of the staging yard. This is the west end at Riverdale / Ogden, and as you can see, I do have all 10 turnouts. They're nice and symmetrical to each other. Both sides are laid out exactly the same, and these are fast track turnouts that I've been working on. I had 7 done last week. I did finish out the last 3 here that you're looking at, and I do have Tortoise turnout motors connected to all of them, and I am able to operate all of them. I do have them hooked up to the GCC system, so we can throw the turnouts to allow different trains to come out of the staging yards. I think I'm going to go ahead and paint them. In fact, this whole area here, I think I'm going to not only paint the turnouts and the track, but also the white is going to transition to the color of the model portion. So it won't be stark contrast from white then to the model part. So it'll be kind of a transition. So I'll paint it the same color as the layout. Now if you notice, this is lined up to go left here, and then this one's lined up to go right, and then this one's lined up to go right, and so it's lined up for this locomotive right there. And here's how things operate if you want to go to a different one. Have it set up with routes. So anyway, I'm going to paint this the same color as the layout, but I won't do any scenery on it or static grass or anything like that. So anyway, so I go to the switch mode, and if you notice, I typed in 105. So this is the 100 series turnouts, and so 105 is track 5, and if you could hear the turnouts throw when I pressed it, all the turnouts, then this one now goes right, and then the next one goes left, which leads you to track 5. So to go from one track to the other, you don't have to switch each individual turnout. You basically just figure out which track it is and then enter it in. So now we're going to go to 102. So this is track 2. Hit throw. And the turnout's throw. Let's see if it's lined up for track 2. Alright, this one goes to the left. Next one goes to the left. And the third one goes to the right, which leads you to track 2. So it's pretty cool. There's no buttons on the fascia to decide where you want to go or to throw the turnouts. No control panel or anything like that. And let's line up 5529 here. So you can control it with a throttle if you have a switch commands on it. So that one's at, I think, 8, so 108 here. The dispatcher will also be able to control these. Alright, see if we're lined up. So now we're looking at the right turnout, which is thrown to the left. Next one is thrown to the right, which leads you to track 8. So it's pretty cool. I have it set up with routes through the software program that does its dispatching. You can also do it within Digitrak's DCC system itself, but That's a little more complicated. I also got 4 turnouts done for the first control point. These are number 10 turnouts. Cars look really nice crossing over from one main line to the other. These again are Fast Tracks turnouts. I built all these turnouts while we were waiting for our house to be built, and then of course installed them here. So this is the first control point, and there will be signals that will control movement of trains through this control point. I'm going to go over that a little bit next week. I'll show you the signals that I'm using, and then I do have the curve done up to, this is Morgan, and up to this point here. And I'm going to try and do some more bench work, and then we get all that. What a mess. I've got to clean that up and then get the bench work going in that direction. Here's a look at the Tortoise machine that's installed under the layout. These Tortoise machines are now on their 3rd layout. You can see how it sticks through the tie there. It's on their 3rd layout, and they just keep working. I mean, I keep seeing things, you know, what's going to be the Tortoise killer. You know, there are different options out there, but I tell you what, you can't go wrong with Tortoise switch machines. As I said, these are their 3rd layout, and they just work and work and work. And they're pretty easy to install, and they do a great job. They not only throw the turnouts, but they also throw the power to the frog. This is what I used to control it, the DS54 by Digitrax. I bought this way back in like 2005. And these also are on their 3rd layout. And they've been superseded by the DS64, and now they have the DS74. But these work just fine, so I keep using them. And they have 3 of them that will control 4 each, so that's 12 turnouts. That does all 10 of the ones in the throat, and then the 2 working in pairs in the control point. It does all those. Here's the Tortoise machine. I install it probably in an unusual way. I soldered the wires on there. I super glue them to the underside of the layout, and when I'm going from one layout to the other, I just yank them off, and you can see some of the wood comes with it. But then when I put it on the next layout, I just use a utility knife to scrape off as much of the wood as possible, and then a file to file it down so it's nice and smooth. And then I can glue it on to the next layout, which is this one here, which is my 3rd one, and I'm certain would be my last layout, unless I live to be 100. And I do want to make sure that the everything moves and still works, and I have yet to have a Tortoise machine fail. You just keep working. So even though there are other options out there, and they might be better options, I don't know, but I definitely would recommend a Tortoise if you get a chance. All right, we're ready for our first train, I think. So we'll go ahead and start up the engines. And I think we're going to be running out a couple of Atherns here. There we go. This is 5529 in the lead, pulling out a crude oil tank tray. I really enjoy working with sound in HO. It's pretty cool. These are a couple of Athern Gevos ES44AC. This is their ready to grime, I think, or something like that. I forget what it is, but they kind of paint it in a way that is already kind of taking some steps towards weathering. If you notice, they have some cabinet doors painted a different color. One of them, there's like a burn mark in the in a door somewhere. But these are very nice, and with the sound, they have Tsunami 2 decoders, which I like a lot. Notice I think one is faded more than the other, so the color's a little bit different. Now there you have one of the Walthers covered hoppers as a buffer between the locomotives and the ScaleTrains tank cars. These are ScaleTrains crude oil tank cars. It's good to see a train running on the main line. I was real excited to get this going, and everything worked perfectly. As we went, I think I'm going to have 3 different trains come out, pull them out, and then back and back in. I didn't have one derailment, which I was real happy about. I did have a couple of things. We'll show those as we get to them. And here it's going through Morgan. This will be Morgan. This is a 58 and 60 inch radius curves. And the trains look great going through there. The first curves as you're coming out of Ogden and heading eastward, you have these curves here which are in 58 and 60. When you get down to the Taggart tunnels, they're in the 60s. And even by Devil's Slide, they're in the 60s. When you get to Echo Canyon, they're in the 50s. When you get to Castle Rock and then the crossover and close to Wasatch, they get down into the 40s. But it looks great. The 60-degree ones, 60-inch ones. Now here we have the helper at the end. We're going to pull it back in. This is another Athearn. This is a SD70M. The light's flashing because of the LED frequency somehow out of sync or in sync with the video. Does not flash while you're in person. Another buffer car at the other end. On my N-scale layout, I ran all the white cars together and all the black cars together. I think I'm going to mix them up here. I do have enough cars for 2 crude oil tank trains. That's one of my favorite kind of trains. And I really like the ScaleTrains cars. They look pretty great. So now we're backing back in, and you can kind of see how the cars run through the fast tracks turnouts. It's almost like the turnouts aren't there. You don't see any jumping or wheel drop or anything like that. It's pretty smooth. And no derailments, which is always a good thing. There's some more ScaleTrains, crude oil tank cars there. All right, first train, no mishaps, no derailments, everything ran great. So we'll go ahead and turn those off, and let's switch over to a couple of ScaleTrains locomotives pulling mixed manifest train. Put the lights on, start the engine up. Now these are as I said, ScaleTrains Tier 4 GEVOs. I think they are ET44AH. And these are ScaleTrains that have ESU decoders in them. I haven't really decided which one I like better. I like them both. They both sound great and run great. The ScaleTrains has this thing where once you start the engine, you have to wait a while before you can actually take off. All right, so now the engines are warmed up, I guess, and so we're able to go ahead and depart out of track 4. So this is a ScaleTrains 2689. think the level of detail is pretty comparable between Athearn and ScaleTrains. These ScaleTrain units do have some cool lights on the walkways and in the truck and the lead truck. That's pretty cool. So I'd definitely give them the edge on that. They also are heavier too. So I think they're going to pull like crazy. The bad thing about these is that the Union Pacific has way more GEVOs than they do Tier 4 GEVOs. So I don't want to get overloaded with Tier 4 GEVOs. I'm going to try and keep the same ratio on the layout that you would see while watching actual trains going through the Evanston sub. Here we get a look at how the trains will travel through the crossovers. I love trains going on crossovers on number 10 turnouts. Looks great. These number 10s also operate flawlessly. I was really curious to see how it would go installing these turnouts on a road bed that's not quite as hard as, you know, plywood or even cork road bed, which is pretty solid. So this road bed is Flex Bed by Hobby Innovations, and it's a type of foam. You can see how it looks crossing over. It's a type of foam, but it's a pretty dense foam. So it's not like the Woodland Scenics or Bachmann foam road bed. But it is a little more resilient than cork. So I was kind of curious to see how it would go putting the turnouts on there. And to be honest with you, the turnouts seemed to just love it. And it went down very easy. And the road bed kind of conformed to the turnouts rather than the turnouts having to conform to the hard plywood or the hard cork. All right, here we are going back into the staging yard. This is a Athearn. So I was able to get the Athearns pretty well speed matched to the ScaleTrains. May need to do a little bit more tweaking, but it's working pretty well. Now that was a dead spot. None of these frogs are powered, and then the second one here is the plow got snagged on a joint, so I had to loosen that. So those are the two mishaps in all this. No derailments, but those two mishaps. The dead spot I'm not concerned about at all because I haven't powered any of the frogs. And the plows catching on the joints, I've had that happen in a couple of different places. I'm not really sure what's the best solution there. They really have the snow plows on the Athearn and the ScaleTrains really close tolerances. I mean, they're like very, very close to the rails, and so I'm not sure what. May have to just file the joints a little bit if that ever happens. But here, these are Walthers and Athearn cars going through. No derailments. Everything's smooth in both directions. I really like these Athearn boxcars. A lot of great detail on these ScaleTrains. I like the three-dimensional radiators there where you can see what's behind the screens and stuff. That's pretty awesome. I continue to be impressed with the amount of detail that you can have and see in HO scale. All right, it's made its run successfully. We'll do one more here. This time you can see the distance. You have a 3972 SD70M by Athearn. We'll run that one, and it's running in tandem with a SD70 ACE, also by Athearn. We'll get its lights on and engines revved up. The first two trains had a DPU unit at the end of the train. This one does not have a DPU unit, so it'll be a real test for backing it back into the staging yard. So we'll go ahead and pull this out. Now the SD70 ACE is a recent purchase. I bought that one used. You can't get a new SD70 ACE. That's also by Athearn. But I was able to find a used one. So I went through a dealer, again, a dealer that I haven't ordered from before. And purchased both of these there. The one on the right, I'm going to have to put on some yellow safety striping. But I was kind of disappointed with this dealer also. The SD70 ACE came with one of the number boards missing. In the pictures that he showed of this used locomotive, it was fine when I received it, missing number board. So I'm going to have to email them, and we'll see how they rectify the situation. I may have to send it back, I don't know, or maybe hopefully they have it there, or they can find it and send it to me or whatever. I definitely went with two dealers that I haven't ordered from before, and both of them were disappointments. But we'll see. The second one, we'll see if they're able to rectify it. I definitely like just sticking with Lombard hobbies if I can. I always have great results with them. Here you get a good shot of how it looks on this 60-inch radius curve. Looks pretty cool. This is pulling some Atlas Trinity reefers. I really like these cars that have the high number boards to avoid the graffiti. And then there's also some Athearn tank cars. So Atlas Trinity reefers and some Athearn 30,000 gallon tankers. All right, now we're backing this up without a helper, so this is all just pushing this into the staging yard. Trains always go better out of a staging yard rather than being backed into. They pull into it, not too bad, but being backed into something, it just seems to cause more trouble, but none here. Everything's operating smoothly. So I'm very happy with how everything's going so far. And I'm going to be working on some things in this next week. I'll be getting all the frogs powered up. And then I will also be hopefully putting on another 8 feet of bench work and extending the main line a little bit further, 8 more feet. So look forward to that next week. Thanks so much for watching this video. Really appreciate your comments, and if you get a chance to subscribe, that's great. Thanks so much for watching. Everybody have a great day.